What's up guys, Nicholas Bueno here for another week of Hoops Talk on Bonfire Sports. If you haven't already checked it out, I posted my first NBA video last week. I talked about 3 predictions I had for the upcoming Raptors season. Not trying to pat myself on the back too much, so far they look pretty damn good. Reminder, I am going on tour for stand-up comedy in the States Wednesday, October 27th. Hit me a follow on Instagram to keep up to date with that. Today's video are 5 things we've learned from the opening week in the NBA. Now, before we get started with the video, reminder to like, subscribe, leave a comment on the video. It really helps us out in the algorithm, guys. Really helps us get seen by more people. Social media information is in the description below. Hit those links, throw us a follow, and let's get on with it. Thing number 1, this is kind of bold so early in the season, but I think Brooklyn needs to get on the phone with Philadelphia tomorrow. Before we get into how this would work on the basketball court, I don't think Kyrie Irving is giving up his position. Now, he's made it clear what his line in the sand is. The Brooklyn Nets have as well. They're not moving. I don't see this getting better. Kyrie Irving is a guy who believes the earth is flat. Now, it's not on me to determine what shape the earth really is, but that's a very bold opinion to have publicly in 2021. The idea that Kyrie would all of a sudden change course for whatever reason, even though he's already been banned from practice, away games, and team activities, and he's getting $17 million to stay home, I don't see it happening. And yes, I saw Brooklyn beat Philly. Yes, I saw Doc Rivers choke. Yes, I saw everything that happened with that. My issue is more so with the trends we saw in the Milwaukee game. Brooklyn doesn't have a go-to defender. They've got 2 go-to scorers. They've got 2 go-to generational talents on offense. They don't have somebody who they can throw on the opposing wing when things get tough. And hey, the East has a lot of great wings. Of course, I'm talking about trading for Ben Simmons, and Ben Simmons doesn't just guard wings, he can guard guards and bigger players in the process. Now, I don't think he can guard 5s, but Blake Griffin is serviceable enough where that doesn't really matter as much. Brooklyn's talented enough to rack up wins in the regular season, but when it comes down to it in the playoffs, I think they're really going to struggle if they can't outgun teams, especially if Kyrie isn't there. You lose one head of the 3-headed monster, and you might be in trouble if Durant or Harden go cold. On top of that, offensively, other than Blake Griffin, who's aging, the Nets also don't have a reliable finisher at the rim or somebody who can attack the rim other than Durant and Harden. The amount of success Simmons would have attacking the space created by Durant and Harden is too much to turn down in my opinion. For Philly's side of this, Simmons, I don't see him ever playing again for the 76ers. I don't. Even if Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid are doing the right thing and being great teammates and being leaders and saying he's our brother, he's already talking about how he's not mentally ready to play. I don't think he can handle it. I don't. And it's not a slander against his character, although we could go there if you really wanted to. I think it's done. I think he's done in Philly. So if I was Brooklyn, I'd call Philly tomorrow, make the deal. I don't know what other pieces would be included. Maybe you can squeeze Danny Green or Furkan Korkmaz out of the Sixers if you're the Nets. I don't know. But a 1-for-1 I think is good enough. Thing number 2, the resurgence of Steve Kerr. Last year, Steve Kerr got in a lot of heat for saying this, and Warriors fans never let him forget it. Now, keep in mind the Warriors offense thrives with high IQ players. What offense doesn't? But Warriors fans having to endure an entire season of Kelly Oubre and however many games with Brad Wanamaker was too much for a fan base that witnessed their team miss the playoffs. And Steve Kerr deserves a lot of slander for some of the things that happened last year. Playing James Wiseman way too many minutes, putting Wiseman in positions where he couldn't succeed, asking Kelly Oubre to read more than just attack a closeout. The list goes on. Warriors fans argue the biggest change that the Warriors made this offseason wasn't one of swinging for a star, rather getting high IQ guys and changes to the coaching staff. People didn't anticipate Steve Kerr 2.0. Steph Curry against the Lakers was put in 11 pick and roll situations. Since his 2015 MVP season, he hasn't had over 8 per game, last season being the most he's had in that time frame, and a lot of that was loaded at the back end of the year when the Warriors decided, hey, let's win games now. Another benefit of playing with Steph and allowing high IQ guys to roll is that Nemanja Bjelica looks a lot better than just a spot-up guy that he was in Sacramento and Minnesota. Bjelica carved up the Lakers, and while he didn't have as big a role against the Clippers, he's versatile, and he's smart enough to make plays and open up the floor for his teammates while knocking down shots. That is massive, and I don't think the Warriors have had a piece like that coming off the bench since the 14-15 season, if you count Maurice Spates, which I'm not sure if I do. On top of that, he's used Iguodala well. Juan Toscano-Anderson's been shown a lot of faith, which he deserves, even if he did get carved up by Anthony Davis on a couple possessions. Okay, it was more than a couple, but you see my point. It's early in the season, and he's also letting Jordan Poole play through his mistakes. Poole was poor to start the game against the Lakers, finally caught fire, and against the Clippers, he wasn't very good, but he was allowed to play through it. Steve Kerr in 2020-2021 would have probably yanked him, put in Brad Wanamaker, and Warriors fans would have let out a collective groan on Twitter. But if the Warriors want to be good, especially with Klay Thompson missing so much time, it's important that Steve Kerr plays Jordan Poole and lets him work things out because he is so young. And he's doing that. I think the Warriors have a bright future this season, and if Steve Kerr continues doing the things that he's doing, I think they might be the team to beat in the West. Thing number 3, the Lakers soap opera is exactly what everybody who's not a Lakers fan needs. Now, Lakers haters, enjoy it while you can, because while they're 0-2, a lot of their games coming up are against teams that just are not that good. My apologies. They play Oklahoma City twice, they play Houston twice, they play Cleveland, they play San Antonio. If the Lakers don't end their first 10 games at 6-4 at least, then they really have issues. I mean, blowing it against the Warriors because Russell Westbrook was terrible and the rest of the team couldn't hit a shot to save their life, and losing against the Suns, getting murdered by the Suns and making a half-assed attempt to come back isn't a good sign, but I do think the Lakers will be able to rack up wins against mid-tier teams. The problem is, how do they fit? Are they healthy? Is Vogel coaching correctly against better teams in the league? I think those are the questions that the Lakers are ultimately going to have to answer if they do want to beat Golden State, Phoenix, Milwaukee, Brooklyn. Other than that, I am 100% sure they will beat up on teams like Orlando and Sacramento. But if the Lakers really want to win a title and LeBron's time is running out, they're going to have to fix the issues in between the margins. Westbrook can't be bringing the ball up and charging into Damian Lee, getting an offensive foul and throwing it away. That just can't happen, and they're going to have to figure something out with their floor spacing. DeAndre Jordan should never be on the floor, ever. I'm not even sure if he should be on with the reserves. Garbage time, yeah, but he's letting go of Marc Gasol and getting DeAndre Jordan was just an awful idea. I don't think that'll get better. I will die on that hill. If the Lakers season goes poorly, it'll be really frustrating for their fans to keep seeing names like Buddy Hield and Kyle Lowry come up when the Lakers could have had probably both of them, because the Raptors package was supposed to be Schroeder, THT, and KCP, and the Kings deal was revolving more around Kuzma and Harrell, so they literally could have had both those guys. I digress, moving on. Number 4, Minnesota could be a play-in team. D'Angelo Russell, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards. That is a lot of firepower from your top 3 scorers, and you still have Malik Beasley, who proved last year he's a capable scorer at the NBA level. Now, I personally think Malik Beasley is a bit redundant with those 3 guys, and maybe they could flip him for a piece that fits better on the wing, maybe like a longer defender who can hit shots. Covington would be perfect on this team, but he's probably not coming back, so that's a pipe dream for Timberwolves fans. But you get my point. Patrick Beverley also brings an edge I don't think the Timberwolves have had in a long time. Say what you want about Pat Bev, clown him if you want, but I think he's necessary for the Timberwolves' growth this season. Now, I'm not sure how well they'll sustain this success they've had 2 games into the season, and they barely beat New Orleans, who look terrible. The Timberwolves actually have a legitimate reason to look forward to the games again, and if they can stay healthy, I think they can shock a lot of people in terms of not being a complete dumpster fire that people expect them to be year in and year out. And thing number 5, the Bulls and the Hornets might be 2 of the most fun teams in the league. Now, Charlotte's defense looked terrible against Indiana, but they came back and won, and they have shooters, they have athletes, they've got a lot of potential, and they are must-see League Pass TV. The Bulls haven't beaten a real opponent yet. They're 3-0, but they beat Detroit twice, and they beat the Pelicans minus Zion, but I do expect them to be a playoff lock by the time April rolls around. I'd love to see the Bulls play a better team and see how they fare on the defensive end against a Brooklyn or a Milwaukee or even a Boston or a Miami, but for the time being, they're both a lot of fun, and those fan bases should be very, very happy because the last years have not been kind to either of those teams. What have you guys seen this year that you liked? Mention that in the comments below. Again, leave the video a like, subscribe, follow us on social media in the description below, and as always, have an awesome day.